Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a concept that's really central to Buddhist philosophy. The Arahant, the worthy one.
Yeah.
We're talking about the ultimate goal, aren't we? Not just, getting some wisdom, but achieving complete liberation, total freedom.
That's exactly it. The Arahant state. It's defined by absolute freedom. It really is the highest realization you can imagine in this framework. A state where the person has permanently gone beyond all the mental stuff.
All of it.
Yeah, the subtle things, the obvious things, all the aspects of self that keep us stuck in suffering.
Okay, when you say transcended all aspects of the self, that really shifts things.
Right.
It's not about rituals or external practices primarily, but this radical internal restructuring.
Precisely.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to map out this ancient idea, but see it as a kind of practical, almost psychological roadmap.
Yes.
We need to get clear on the stages, what they mean, and crucially, how this whole path connects to what maybe a modern seeker, someone interested in transformation today, is looking for.
It really is an internal revolution. And the name itself, Arahant or Arhat in Sanskrit, it literally means worthy one, or sometimes perfected one.
But projected in what sense? Not morally perfect in the way we might usually think.
No, not about conforming to social rules. It's about the realization of nirvana, that complete extinguishing of all the mental defilements, the things that cloud our minds. The Arahant has, finished the job. The task is done.
Finish the job. Okay. And what defines that state? We often hear about ordinary folks being bound by samsara, this cycle driven by craving and aversion. What exactly has the Arahant managed to uproot?
Well, fundamentally, they've seen through the illusion of a separate self. They've realized it's not real in the way we assume. Yeah. Our sources really emphasize this paradox. The Arahant finds out they were never this isolated little being struggling away,
right,
but have always been part of everything, part of the all, as some texts put it, interwoven.
So the defining characteristics aren't like magical powers, but more about psychological stability, a different way of being.
Exactly that. You'd recognize an Arahant by their profound, spontaneous wisdom. Unshakable equanimity is key, meaning life's ups and downs don't knock them off balance internally.
Doesn't mean bad things don't happen, just that their inner state isn't dependent.
Precisely. And deep compassion, but it's non-personal. It flows naturally. They just operate without being attached to their ego or status or getting what they want, because they're seeing reality more directly, without all the filters of our usual conditioning.
Seeing past conditioned reality.
Okay.
If that's the destination, where does the Buddha say someone actually starts? It has to begin somewhere concrete.
Right, absolutely. And the beauty of it is its practicality. It starts with understanding those Four Noble Truths. We won't go deep into them now, assuming you, our listener, have some familiarity.
Right, the basics. Suffering exists, it comes from clinging, it can end, and there's a path.
Exactly. But for the Arahant, or someone on the path, this isn't just theory they learned. It's the operating manual for their mind. It's lived experience.
And that manual, that framework, it translates into a very specific internal curriculum, doesn't it? These 10 fetters, the samyajana.
Yes, these are the psychological chains, you could say. The specific knots that have to be untied, systematically broken to reach arahantship.
So it's quite precise.
These fetters are the sources of all our suffering, really. And they range from the fairly obvious ones to the incredibly subtle. The whole journey kicks off by tackling the very first one.
Which is?
The self-identity view. Sakkaya-ditthi.
That core belief that this I, this persistent self, is solid and real and needs defending all the time.
That's the one. Once that starts to unravel, the path truly opens.
What are some of the other big ones? What else gets tackled?
Well, beyond that identity view, you've got things like attachment to rites and rituals, thinking specific ceremonies will save you. There's sensual desire, obviously, ill will or aversion, conceit, feeling superior or inferior, restlessness.
Okay, those sound like things we can recognize in daily life, but you said they get subtle.
Extremely subtle. Later on, you're dealing with attachment to subtle states of meditative absorption, like attachment to form and even formless existence, clinging to the very idea of existence itself, in a way. And the final fetter is ignorance avijja, the fundamental blindness to reality as it is.
Wow. It really does sound like intricate psychological surgery. So how does breaking these fetters map onto those famous 4 stages of awakening we hear about?
The stages are like progress markers, milestones. Arahant ship is the final destination, stage 4, but you get there by passing through these distinct phases. Each phase means a specific set or group of these fetters has been permanently cut, gone for good.
Right. Okay, let's walk through them. Stage 1, the stream enterer, the sotapanna. What's the big shift there? What does entering the stream mean psychologically?
This is the first irreversible breakthrough. It's huge. The person has a direct, unshakable insight into the non-reality of that separate self we just talked about. The first fetter is broken.
So it's not just an intellectual idea anymore?
Not at all. It's seen directly. This also removes fundamental doubt about the path, about whether liberation is actually possible. They've entered the stream leading inevitably to nirvana. They say within 7 more lifetimes, maximum. They can't fall back into the deepest forms of delusion. It's a profound cognitive shift.
7 lifetimes.
Okay.
Then stage 2, the once returner, sakadagami. The name suggests something.
It suggests they'll only be reborn once more in this human realm or similar realms of desire before liberation. And this stage is where, well, the heavy lifting on our everyday emotional dramas really happens.
How so?
This is where the practitioner significantly weakens the next 2 fetters, sensual desire and ill will. Intense craving and strong aversion really lessen their grip.
So, like, put it in modern terms.
Okay, maybe you get some negative feedback at work or a relationship hits a rough patch. For the once returner, that stuff doesn't derail them emotionally in the same way. It doesn't provoke that deep, lasting hostility or desperate craving. The compulsive emotional pull of things just loosens dramatically.
That sounds like a huge step towards kind of emotional freedom, independence from circumstances.
It is a massive degree of freedom.
Okay, stage 3, the non-returner, anagomi. This sounds even more advanced, abstract.
It is more subtle, definitely. At this stage, those grosser forms of desire and aversion, the ones weakened in stage 2, are now completely gone, eradicated.
Completely. Wow.
Yes. So the focus shifts to even subtler attachments, things like clinging to the pleasure of deep meditative states, or attachment to existence in refined non-physical realms, what we call attachment to form and formless objects.
Heavenly realms, maybe.
Kind of. Attachment to even those subtle states, they're called non-returners because they won't be reborn in the human realm again. If they don't reach Arahantship in that life, they'll be reborn in a high heavenly realm and attain final nirvana there. They never need to come back down here.
Got it. And that leaves stage 4, the Arahant.
Yeah.
The end of the line.
The end of the line. All 10 fetters completely broken. No residue left. Nirvana fully realized. Here and now. Done.
This whole progression, it really frames it less as a religious journey in the conventional sense and much more like a process of radical mental deconditioning, taking apart the habitual mind.
That's a perfect way to put it. That's the core insight. If you look at it through a modern psychological lens, the path to Arahantship is precisely about dismantling these ingrained cognitive frameworks, these habitual patterns of craving, aversion, and most importantly, clinging to an idea of me.
Yeah, it's tempting to draw parallels with, say, cognitive behavioral therapy or mindfulness practices. They also work with thoughts and patterns. But you're suggesting there's a critical difference. We need to be clear about this for the listener.
Yes, the distinction is absolutely fundamental. Modern approaches, things like CBT, ACT, mindfulness, they are often brilliant tools for working with the content of our thoughts and emotions.
Right, managing them better.
Exactly. They teach you skills to notice negative thoughts, maybe challenge them, replace dysfunctional beliefs with more functional ones, or accept difficult feelings without being overwhelmed. You learn to manage the mental traffic.
You're kind of changing the script that's running.
Precisely. You're improving the script. But the path of awakening, the Arahant path, it's ultimately about dissolving the scriptwriter. It's about seeing the structure of thought itself, the whole process of creating a self that needs protecting and satisfying. You realize the conceptual nature of it all. You see that the thoughts, the beliefs, the sense of a separate me, they were never inherently real or solid to begin with. You're not just swapping a bad thought for a good thought. You're stepping outside the entire game.
Seeing the whole conceptual overlay for what it is.
Yeah.
Fabricated.
Yes. And the result of that shift, that cognitive restructuring is, well, it's extraordinary. You become free from neurotic loops, from compulsive reactivity, because the destructive impulse, the urge to grasp or push away based on ego, it just doesn't arise in the same way when the underlying belief system isn't fueling it.
You're living without that constant, chattering, self-referential narrative that dictates so much of life for most people.
That's a very good way to describe it.
Okay, before we get fully into nirvana itself, we absolutely have to tackle some common misconceptions. These ideas really muddy the waters around the Arahant. Myth number 1. The Arahant is cold, aloof, emotionally detached, like a spiritual zombie.
Right, that's a common one. But the reality described is quite different. They operate with this deep, non-personal compassion and a profound sense of presence. Because they are free from self-centered agendas, they can actually respond more fully, more appropriately to whatever situation arises. It's not cold detachment. It's more like radical availability, true empathy, maybe.
Okay. Myth number 2, Arahantship, this ultimate goal. It's only for monks and nuns living in monasteries, not for regular people.
Absolutely not the case. The Buddha's teachings, the sources are clear, the path is open to anyone. Householders, lay people, anyone can realize this. It's not about lifestyle, it's about insight. It's a realization of what you already are, fundamentally.
Good. Myth 3. Arahants become special beings, elevated, somehow fundamentally different and superior to others.
Again, that misses the point entirely. The core of the awakening experience is realizing interconnectedness, non-separation. The very idea of being special or having some elevated status which relies on comparison and difference, that whole structure dissolves along with the ego. There's no hierarchy in that ultimate reality.
That makes sense. Now, let's touch on perhaps the most challenging one, the most subtle, maybe, for our usual way of thinking. The idea that Arahants are always paragons of kindness and compassion, judged by our conventional standards.
Yes. This gets tricky, and it points towards the nature of ultimate freedom. While the ground of the Arahant's being is essentially compassionate, free from ill will, true nirvana actually transcends even our most cherished concepts. That includes kindness and right action.
So they aren't bound by conventional morality, by rules.
In the ultimate sense, no. They see these concepts as part of the conditioned world, useful frameworks, but not absolute truths. The Arahant acts spontaneously from a place of wisdom and freedom, understanding that from an absolute perspective, you can't definitively label any action right or wrong, because the full consequences are unknowable, and all actions arise within the web of cause and effect. There is no independent doer choosing in the way we think. Nirvana is complete freedom from all constraints, including conceptual ones. It allows everything to simply be, including their own responses, without judgment.
That lack of conceptual constraint, it leads us straight into talking about nirvana, doesn't it? The state inseparable from the Arahant. We need to be really clear here, because often in the West, people picture nirvana as like a blissful heaven.
Right, and it's definitively not a place, it's not an afterlife destination you go to. Nibbana, Pali, literally means extinguishing or blowing out.
Blowing out what?
Blowing out the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. Blowing out the flames that fuel the sins of a separate, suffering self. It's the realization of the unconditioned, that which is beyond birth and death, beyond concepts, beyond suffering.
So for the Arahant, this isn't some future hope. It's their present reality.
Exactly. It's how they experience things moment to moment. The texts describe it as the deathless, the unconditioned, the ultimate peace, the ending of suffering. They are living free from the cage of concepts and self-importance that defines so much of conditioned existence.
Okay, so bringing this all together,
Yeah.
what's the real relevance of this Arahant ideal for us today? In our culture, which is so driven by, getting more, achieving more, defining ourselves by accomplishments.
It's profoundly countercultural, isn't it?
It really is. It presents this radical possibility. Complete liberation from the whole cycle of striving and suffering that comes from identifying with a limited self. It challenges the entire value system based on achievement and accumulation.
And I think the deep lesson there is one of humility. Real freedom, the path suggests, isn't found by adding more knowledge, more status, more experiences, more spiritual stuff. It's found by letting go.
Letting go of everything.
Letting go of everything we believe makes us us. The path isn't about becoming someone special or important. It's about transcending the very psychological mechanism that creates the idea of self-importance in the first place.
So the Arahant finds total freedom by dissolving it all, beliefs, concepts, the very sense of a separate self, realizing that even our highest virtues, like kindness or compassion, are ultimately just concepts from the perspective of that ultimate reality, that there's no right action in an absolute sense. Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener, to take away. If nirvana, if this ultimate freedom truly transcends all rules, all concepts, even the concept of right and wrong, what does that profound, ultimate non-judgment imply about how we understand morality, responsibility, and just how we navigate our own lives day to day? Something to really ponder.